Hello everybody, Sunday morning, another regular edition of Wardy's Waffle. I've just come into another one of our fields that was we didn't have a crop on this year, and this was planted about 2 and a bit weeks ago, and you can just see how it's nicely coming through now. We've got another field just behind me, just over there, that just through that gap there, you see nicely coming through as well. Just keeping out of that field. The only way into that field is through a gap just behind us, which is, I'll put the clip up in a minute. There's a big nice little covey of English partridges there having a feed off one of the feeders that we've filled up this week, so I'll not go in there. I'll show you that field another day. Oh dear, last few days been massively busy with counteracting the Labour government's agricultural property relief, inheritance tax, and all the things they've done. But it's not just that. They've also increased our national insurance contributions. They've also massively reduced the de-link payments that all farmers are going to get this next year as a result of the BPS, that's the basic payment scheme, withdrawal that started a few years ago. They've massively chopped that as well. And another thing's gone under the radar. They have next year the tax relief on double cab pickups is going as well. That was successfully fought by the NFU, or put forward, and the Conservatives agreed to it a few years ago. And now that's going. Most farmers, a lot of farmers, have double cab pickups. I don't like double cab pickups, and I don't need the pickup part of it to carry stuff in the back. But a lot of livestock farmers, a lot of contractors use double cab pickups, and it's very tax advantageous to do. It's a good working vehicle, and you can take your children about the farm and family as well. So anyway, Labour don't like that, so that's going. And I've also seen rumours that there's going to be a tax put on fertiliser as well. So just one thing after another, that Labour are really making it difficult to grow food profitably. It's not that profitable now, if at all. And when you look at the weather we've got to contend with, it's just massively challenging. Anyway, I'm also just going to post two things that Steve Reed put up. Now, Steve Reed is the DEFRA secretary, head of DEFRA, and he put up two posts that I just think are just horrendous. So when you see Steve Reed saying farmers need to do more with less, unbelievable saying that. And to be honest, I think why don't the Labour government try that? That's what they should be doing. And then also it came out as well, this is the clip from that rumour, that Steve Reed offered up the DEFRA department for a budget cut when they were looking at trying to save money to plug this imaginary black hole, which I'll talk about in a second. But to have a budget cut in agriculture, we need more. Our costs have risen 40% in the last 5 years, and yet the 2.4 billion budget that DEFRA have put has been the same as that since in that time, and yet our costs have risen 40%. And so it should be 40% more. They shouldn't be patting themselves on the back for keeping the budget the same. But I must admit, though, they were talking of a budget cut, so I suppose we can only be thankful for small mercies. Also, this last couple of days, quite a few TV people, radio companies, done a lot of interviews and things like that. Some of you have seen them, thank you for the comments. Was on GB News yesterday morning. GB News are always very supportive, and they are actually coming to the farm on Monday. They're spending a lot of Monday here and doing a lot of live interviews from the farm here, bringing various people to the farm, so that will be good on Monday. I always do find them really good of supportive British agriculture. I was also on Jeremy Vine yesterday with Tina, I can't remember her second name, who was standing in for Jeremy. So if you look back at that will be on catch up. And also tomorrow, or when you see this rather, because this is Saturday I'm doing this, this morning, Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, if it's played, the producer of Laura Koonsberg, the political programme, asked me to send in a video, and they were going to ask the Chancellor play it. And so I've sent in a couple of videos and see which one they choose of that. So if you don't catch that live, then again, hopefully that will be on catch up, and hopefully I'll use one of my videos as a question to the Chancellor. Oh yes, just to remember as well, please do support it. The NFU have organised a rally in London on November the 19th. This is the link to that, and there is a petition also that's going round. So I'm going to put those 2 links in the comments in the description section of this video. So please do sign up to those, look at those, do register your interest in both of those. We need as much support as we can get, and I think at the minute we have actually got big support from the general public, which is fantastic when you look at food production and everything. So if you are a member of the public and you're supporting British agriculture, thank you so much for that. It is hugely appreciative, because family farms are at stake here. And I will actually also mention, it's not just family farms, don't forget it's other small businesses as well that's at stake. It's just not just family farms, and any small businesses can have the inheritance tax just the same. So we need to all work together on this and try and quash it. And where they got this £1 million from, I just do not know. I just don't know at all, because the average size of a farm in Lincolnshire is 313 acres. So that's about £3.13 million. And I know there's other allowances, there's personal allowances built into that as well, or on top of it. But it still doesn't anywhere near cover the value of farms when you look at what we've got, machinery and cost of production. Anyway, I won't go on any more ramble on. Let's crack on with some proper farm work. If you remember from my videos a few weeks ago, Jim Egan comes here a lot. Now Jim is King's Crops guy for this area, comes and sees us a lot, helps us with our winter bird food plots and advises us on wildlife and things. Jim came over 2 or 3 weeks ago and looked at one of the fields that we put into a long-term flower rich grass mix. So this is Jim from 2 or 3 weeks ago, and his take on our fields and this crop of flowers, because I must admit I don't think it looks enough flowers in it, but Jim says it looks fantastic. So I've got a regular visitor to the videos. You see Jim quite regularly. Jim helps us a lot with the SFI and a lot of our countryside stewardship agreements and lots of advice. We are stood, Jim, in a field that I wasn't happy with.
Nope. So we're you're never really happy, are you? So today we're stood in a field of wildflower blocks and margins. It's IPM in your SFI guide. This is actually in countryside stewardship, so it's AB8. And Andrew's basically taken out a rubbish old field that was a little bit divorced from the rest of the farm and put it down to wildflowers. Now, when he did it last August,
it was seeded August the 17th, so we cultivated it in June for the first time, and then we cultivated it again once or twice in July. We let the weeds and the rubbish grow. We then sprayed that off with glyphosate and then established this on August the 17th. But we established it with the Kuhn Aero spreader, the pneumatic spreader that a lot of you have seen us establish other things with. So it was effectively broadcast on the soil surface and rolled. That was it.
So he got 10 out of 10 for establishment from me when he told me what he'd done. So that really is the right thing to do. You've got to remember that when you're doing this stuff, the seed is really tiny. It's really tiny. You're talking clovers and clover seeds, so 1,000 grain weights of 2 or less.
Yeah,
so it's really tiny stuff.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, don't get tempted to drill it. So Andrew did exactly the right thing. The things that I got thrown at me, there's not going to be enough wildflowers in that, Jim. Only 10% wildflowers, 90% grass.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have enough.
Yeah.
And then I told him he had to mow it at least 3 times through the first year. So how often did you mow it?
I didn't like that either when you told me.
Nope.
But we actually did it. So it was established August the 17th a year ago, just over a year ago, and we have mown it 3 times, if not 4 times, throughout this sort of late spring and summer.
So what you're doing with the mowing is you're helping this stuff to establish. So in here you've got 8 or 9 wildflowers. They won't all establish in the same year, and you'll get some come through sequentially. We'll have a look at what's in it in a minute. And then you've got finer grasses, so you've got fescues and bents. And to get those to establish properly, what that mowing's doing is getting them to tiller, put their feet properly into the ground and get them well established. And it's also helping deal with some of the annual weeds, and won't shy away from the fact there's 1 or 2 thistles left in here this time.
Yeah, there is.
But the thistles and stuff won't have been able to seed. So you won't have had loads of weed seed blowing about. And if you look down at the sward now, you can see it's a really good thick carpet. There's no bare ground for weed seeds and stuff to get through. So just building on what we just said, if you look down on the ground here, Andrew, you can see there's a really good sward. There's not lots of bare patches in there. So whilst there are some thistles around, and there's quite a few, don't shy away from those. We'll talk about how you're going to treat those in a minute.
We've got 1 or 2 there.
There's quite a good thick sward, so there's no chance or very little chance of stuff to now come through and germinate into the next year. So look, already you've got yarrow in here, you've got oxeye daisy in flower in here, you've got red clover. You can see there's lots of oxeye daisy plants coming through in here. There's oxeye daisy leaf coming through.
Is that what they are?
There.
Yeah, those leaves.
And then you've got bird's foot trefoil coming through. We'll see some yellow plants of bird's foot trefoil in a minute. So you've already got stuff starting to come through. You've got some self-heal.
Some what?
Self-heal.
Right, there.
So, before we just had a quick walk in through the gate and a quick look round, and we've also already found 7 or 8 flowering plants in here after the work you've done. And this will only get better over the years. All the oxeye daisies will spread, the clovers will keep going, and you're going to have a really fantastic habitat for all the pollinators. That'll give you lots of stuff then for insects to come and feed on. You have lots of stuff then for birds to come and feed on that are bred in the hedges and the tall trees behind us.
Right. So
it's actually really doing some good. And I know you're a bit dubious. You've walked through and said, well, is it really? But it is really genuinely very good establishment.
You see, I'm always, when you look at it, I always think these sorts of things. There's when you look at, to my mind, there's too much grass here and not enough flowers. But you say you don't want it. That's not the idea of it.
What you've got with the grasses in here, you've got fine grasses. Yes, there's some ryegrass in there, but there's always ryegrass in seed beds from old grass fields. So that's always going to sit in there. But you've got fine grasses, they're not competitive.
Yeah.
It's not like having cocksfoot and timothy that you've got in traditional grass margins.
Right.
That these grasses won't be aggressive, and it'll allow the wildflowers to actually spread across the field.
Right.
So it's really good. It's a little bit disappointing the number of thistles, but that's part of life.
Yes.
There's not nearly as many as there would have been if you hadn't done your mowing.
No.
And you can come through. We've already had a brief discussion. You can come through and you can spot treat these.
Yeah.
It can be hard work, but it'll be worth it at the end of the day.
So just looking back actually here, Jim, what's these yellow flowers here?
So this one here, that's your bird's foot trefoil. So in there, these ones there, that's the bird's foot trefoil in there. Somewhere in here, but not in flower yet. Not that we can see. There's black medic.
Yeah.
That's a smaller yellow flower.
Yeah.
When it comes to the spring of next year, you're going to see red and white campion coming through as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a show of colour right the way through the summer. It's going to, like I say, provide lots of stuff for pollinators. There'll be lots of insects in here, all at the right time for any birds that are nesting in your hedges, and then the trees down at the back there. There's lots for them to feed on. It's going to do an immense amount for wildlife.
So this just shows you all the sort of surrounding area. The edge of Leadenham Village is just the other side of those trees. So this is where we are. It's a 10-acre field. There's a road just to the side of my discovery there. And whenever we had any crops in here, they never performed very well. And we had to unpack the combine actually on the road, which wasn't very ideal. But there's a lot of springs come out this hillside. And you can just see one actually, Jim. There's in front of us, just there, look, in front of that middle there. There's a spring place there coming out, and the corners were wet, so it didn't actually perform. So I think putting it into this was an ideal sort of solution.
This year's work with your good preparation, the way that you've mowed it through the year, treating the thistles now and in the spring, you've got something here that will last for a number of years.
I was just going to say, it will last a number of years, won't it?
You're creating a wildflower meadow.
Yeah.
This will be here when your grandchildren are around taking the farm over. So
well, that's good.
And it has the potential to last for that long.
I think as well, another good thing what I'd like to do, if you can help me, is maybe put a board up at the gate, because I know there are a lot of people walk dogs round up and down the road here behind us, and they come in the field here. Maybe to have a board made to say what we're doing, why it's not into food production, why it's into wildflower meadow, and what scheme it's in. Would you be able to help us with that?
Definitely help you with that, and I think that's a really good idea to let people know what's what. And just thinking about it, you've just said about the spring up there, but you look up to the top of the hill and you look into the field opposite. They're traditional grass meadows anyway.
They are, yeah.
So this wasn't meant to be an arable productive farm. So for all those reasons, you've done the right thing.
Yeah. Right, Jim. Well, as always, thanks ever so much. So I'm still waiting for those signs that Jim said we'll have, which I'm sure they're coming. I must give them a ring this week and just make sure we're getting them. I just think that anybody passing by walking the dogs, it's a favourite area for villagers and locals to walk the dogs. Just need to be aware of what we're doing here and what we're growing in the field. Also, this update, do you remember last week when we were loading sugar beet, and we're just waiting actually to lift the last field down here. We haven't got any more drilling done this week because the the weather hasn't been really very good. It hasn't dried at all. We've had drizzle, foggy mornings, made things really wet. But if you remember last week, I put a very small clip up of another company nearby, haulage company, who were loading sugar beet with a 360-degree excavator and a sort of clamp basket type attachment. Well, that was working near Boston yesterday, and I went to have a look at that. Also, in this update, we are looking at hedge cutting. We've got some hedges being cut around the farm now, starting to do those ready for the winter. Time they were done really, because they've stopped growing and we don't want the margins to get any wetter from what we're doing. And then moving some soil as well to the local poultry unit. Anyway, a few various things going on in this update. Hope you enjoy it. Please come back with any questions, any comments. Right, let's crack on into it and see you at the end. I've just got in my truck a minute ago and there's a robin in it. Don't know how he's been in here. He's been in here all night. Look at the mess. What is it, Nala? Right, let's see if we can open all the windows. Get the poor little thing out of the bin. Nala, no. There he has gone out this other side. He's gone up there for a rest. I bet he's been flying at the glass for a long while. There he is. So I've just come to a local farm. In fact, you remember James and Michael who helped us combine the Capulet beans a few weeks ago? I've just come to their farm because Eric and Roseanne have come over here to talk about the beans and this year planning. And we're just looking at doing something with James and Michael, and this is their farm here at Navenby near Lincoln. Moy Park is just behind us. That's the mill that was sold to Moy Park. That was their own mill on the farm, and we're just looking here at the sheds, the big facility they're putting up or hoping to put up here, which I think if those of you who regularly watch the videos, you'll have heard Michael talk about it, or was it James when they were driving the combine. They're going to put some storage up here, hopefully, if it all gets passed, and we'll do regular updates from here, from this farm. But this shed here, you can just see over my shoulder here, this is the one that went up this harvest, and it's 4,000 tonnes of storage in here. New poultry unit went up there as well, and let's have a look inside this shed because it's just fantastic how this is a modern wheat store when you just see inside what it's like. So we'll just go in the door here. James is busy talking to Eric and Roseanne. You can see here. So this is inside, all insulated to stop condensation. James there in the light coloured top is talking to Roseanne and Eric, just showing here, and we're just talking about the future of the beans and how hopefully we're going to be doing something here in the future. So they've got pedestals the same as we've got. These are metal ones, we've got plastic ones, but you can just see they maybe can't quite see the daylight through there, but there'll be a motor on the top. There we go, just the same as ours, and the motor pulls the air up and helps keep the grain right. You can see there, just helps keep it cool. It needs cooling down to ideally less than 10 degrees and ideally 5 degrees to keep it long term. Got extractor fans at the top there. So it's about 65-70 metres long, this shed. Some of you will have seen a video last week when I put the clip up of us loading sugar beet, and you saw a clip of an excavator with a special bucket grab. Well, I've actually come to film that working. It's just here. I'm out the back of Boston. You can just see really open countryside, flat. This is known as the fens. Really rich, good soil, silt soils, grade 1 and 2 soils. A lot better soils than what we have at home, but still surprisingly wet. So we'll have a look at this machine working, see behind me close up, and talk to Claire and Adam here, who work for Freeman's Transport, who own this machine. So this is a narrow road, the loading on the side of. The heap has been tipped in the field. Here's the cleaner loader. They have got another cleaner loader apparently, which we'll see in a minute, but as you can see, this is really, really wet. So this is the basket. I'm not quite sure of proper terminology. And I think they're only lowering it into the cleaner slowly because it'll clean it better. I'll just move here a bit further out the way. So this is what I was trying to find or get for hours, but just couldn't get it soon enough. Works really well. When you're dealing like this and you've got sugar beet tipped in a field, it works very well. Brilliant way of loading sugar beet when you're not on concrete. I thought it might break the beet, but it doesn't, because at the very bottom of the basket of the two halves it's a round bar, not a blade. You can see underneath there, and so it doesn't shear the beet in half at all. So this is the attachment close up. You can see it just fits on the quick hitch like any other bucket does, and then at the bottom, yeah, thank you, just open up, thank you very much. So that's how it opens up. As you can see the bars here at the bottom, so it's not a blade as such, that's what grips the beet, and then it just clamps to. That's it, like that. Works really well. Can you rotate that, or does it just, is it free on its own?
It's free at the minute, but
you can lock it and rotate it.
Yeah, well, I haven't got the attachment on it.
Right. Yeah. Brilliant.
You can rotate them.
Yeah.
In the cab.
Yeah. And you've got a 20 tonner, 22 ton. Does it need that?
You're a bit smaller. You can get away with 14.
Yeah. So, got the bucket behind me and the heap, and I've also got Claire stood next to me, who is Ops Director of Freeman's Transport, where this machine has come from. So Claire, this basket, you were telling me a week ago you had to get this from abroad.
Yeah, so we got this last year when the conditions were as challenging as this. So the weather was particularly wet,
Yeah.
Beet was being lifted, even when the field looked like it could cope. Then what happened was a bit of rain and we ended up with a situation like this. So we went into Europe, bought this bucket, did some modifications to our machine, and have used this. This is the third time it's been used. We've used it twice last campaign, and this is the first time it's been out.
And did you have a job finding it?
I think we did the normal searches through eBay and Facebook Marketplace, and then we found this in Europe, and it was the only one we could find. There was something not very far from here in a agricultural place, but we just couldn't get it to be modified, so this is what we did. So George went out there with his just a flatbed trailer and brought it back. Yeah,
but it does a cracking job when you look at it in here.
Yeah.
It does it in this sort of conditions.
It's perfect because it's damage limitation on the land, which is what we're trying to do. So
yeah, that's right. Just on Freeman's, you haulage wise, you do what apart from sugar beet? Obviously, sugar beet's a big part of what you do.
Yep. So we run two parts of our haulage business. We've got 55 vehicles, and we run containers, and we run bulk haulage. So throughout the year, obviously, we've got 6 months of doing sugar beet, aggregate, grain, anything that goes in a bulk trailer. but also we do a lot more, a bit more diverse than that. We've got a luxury lodge park at Langtoft Lakes, and also manufacture our own biodiesel.
Wow.
So we're fairly unique in the bulk sector.
So your lodges at the lakes then, that's open to anybody who wants to come and have a weekend?
No, so we have just got, actually, quite opportune, we are just collecting some glamping pods today.
Yeah.
To do Airbnb and Booking.com type short stays. Our luxury lodge park is second homes primarily. So
and how will people find that? What do you call it?
They can go onto our website, which is www.freemans-transport.com, and they'll find everything on there.
Fantastic. And you are based near Bourne, is that right?
Yeah, we're at Baston Fen, so we're between Bourne and Peterborough. So 1 yard there where our farm is, so we've got a 500-acre farm as well, family farm, and then another yard in Peterborough.
Great. Well, thanks, Claire. If anybody wants any sugar beet haulage and loading in difficult conditions, give me a shout and I'll put you in touch with Claire. Otherwise, if you want a break when you get your glamping pods up, have a look at that as well.
Come and find us.
That's right. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
Paul's back for another load of straw. Got a few bales there that's got the tops and things and got some damage. I remember seeing in the other update, but they'll mix in. He's taking some of these tops and then that one at the top there. But they'll be all right. They'll mix in when he gets them back home into Cumbria. You can see the different straw. That's wheat straw, the darker straw, and that's barley straw on the left. Cereals site's looking well. All the grass that we've sown really taking shape now. And this is the benefit of broadcasting it. You don't get any rows at all. It fills in so much better. This is the main walkway right through the middle of the site. Anyway, we'll have a full update on this another day. Still a fair bit of straw here when you can see. A lot of bales there, but a few more loads next week. So this is the heap of soil that we're moving at the minute that went on, it came out of the pond near the house in the yard. Barry on the digger there is loading it. It came here last winter. So Barry's now heading off to tip a load. Ruben behind him has just cleaned up the sugar beet pad. So we're hopefully going to be lifting the last sugar beet field down here in the next day or two. And we've got Jason in hedge cutting. This is Fenland Pest Control, the same company that does PX Farms at Grantham. That hedge cutter's running really quiet. I'm not sure whether it's new this year, but running ever so quiet. He's done this dike as well down here, but we've done some of it with our cutter as well. We go around with the coon mower and we do as much of the bank as we can, obviously the near side bank. Just been to see how Barry's been getting on bringing the soil down at the poultry unit just nearby, and we're doing a lot of concreting next week. And we've got this field still to work here to solo and cultivate ready for the winter. We've got spring barley coming in there, but Friday afternoon this is, about 4:30, and that road looks very, very quiet. And that is because there is another accident on the A17. There's a car in the dike on the right. That, you just see a white car there. and the farm, our farm is just there. We're not very far away. That's the poultry site. So the road shut yet again. So I think since early August we've had one a week on this stretch of road. There's another covey of English partridges. Look at that. And they've just been to have a feed just in here. We'll look at that in a minute, but Reuben and Tom have got all these feeders filled up around the farm, and that's in one of our winter bird food plots with a grass margin at the side of it. And there are the partridges. And these are meant to be nearly extinct, or not many of them around the country, but we have lots of them here. So that's it for this midweek update. Hope you enjoyed that one. You can see behind me this other field of wheat that was planted about 2.5 weeks ago. Looks really good. Now this is one of the fields that had the cover crops on it. We mould it and everything as well. And this is what it's like. So it's really, really good. Pleased with that. So hopefully we'll be vindicated for the decision I made this last year by not cropping a lot of these fields, because it didn't dry up until early May and I thought it was too late to plant spring crops in. So hopefully we'll have some of these wheats are going to perform really well this year, and we need the prices to improve. Anyway, that's it for this update. Thank you very much for watching and supporting everything we do with farming and in agriculture. Massively, massively appreciated, and we'll see you midweek.